What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to talk about iterators in Rust. Now, Rust likes to do everything a little bit different, so you can't even normally do arrays the normal way. Now, what I found out actually while writing this video, or the code for this video, is that there are some things that Rust does implicitly now, instead of requiring the coder to do it explicitly. That makes it a little bit easier. In order to kind of iterate over arrays and things like that, because spoiler alert, that's what iterators are for. But there are some things that you do need to explicitly convert vectors into iterators in order to do. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So if we go over to our code, we can see we are creating a vector of U32s, or unsigned 32-bit integers. 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. Nothing in particularly important about that. And then we're going to iterate over them and print out their values. So we don't have any problem with the code up until that for loop. I'm going to comment everything out below that. Now if we run this with cargo run, we will get no problem. We are printing out everything. Now what this is doing implicitly behind the hood is it is actually converting vec1 over to an iterator. So it is basically calling this dot into iter. So that's what it's doing behind the hood. If we run this, it will do the exact same thing. We will get all of the items printed out, no problem. So it is running into iter behind the hood implicitly without us actually having to state it. I actually, because I did not realize that until I started doing this video, I want to basically put it here explicitly instead. Now let's see where we start to get into some problems. So we convert it into an iterator here. So let's keep that commented out, and I'll show you kind of what happens if you don't do this. If we tried to sum it using the sum function, we could try it this way, vec1.sum. And you'll notice that nothing popped up in my linter, and it says vec u32 is not an iterator. So this is not going to run correctly, but we can kind of see what the problem is going to be pretty quickly. So if we pop up here, it already is telling us it does not satisfy vec u32 iterator, so it's going to tell us basically what we need to do there, which is kind of nice. Vec u32 is not an iterator. Try calling into iter or just iter. So we can kind of see how we can solve this problem real quick. Let's go ahead and uncomment this out. Ooh, let vec iter equal vec1.iter. So we're creating this iterator here, and then we are creating the sum variable. So let's just go ahead and print out that sum variable. And you're about to see that we're going to run into another problem. Now, problem that we're going to run into now is that once we run this, we are seeing that we actually are moving this vec1 right here. So Rust has that kind of weird way of dealing with moves and ownership and things like that. So we are moving ownership right there in our for loop. So what we could do here is, instead of into iter, we're going to iterate over a slice, basically copying this, and this will run just fine.